Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 133 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable. I am your host, Wade Finnegan. I am joined by my two lovely co-hosts this evening, Erica Conroy.
Hi.
And Xavier Granville.
Yellow internets.
Our special guest this evening is Donna. I got married to three names: Donna White Glaser, and Donna is a mystery author, and been in the writing business for a long time, and definitely well seasoned, as in good sales and all that stuff. But the main reason we brought her on tonight is because she was just done the Kindle Scout program, and we've been wanting to know about it, learn about it. I've been interested about it, so she was kind enough to come on the show tonight and talk to us a little bit about her experience with the Kindle Scout program. So, Donna, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So, yeah, so we've been kind of talking about Kindle Scout a little bit behind the scenes, but we haven't really done much of it with the show. And I'm not sure how well versed our audience is in it. So can you just give us a little background about what Kindle Scout is to start off with?
Sure. Well, Amazon would basically, their definition is they use reader-powered publishing. They kind of talk about it as being crowdsourced. I guess my definition for it would be a slush pile popularity contest. It's pretty much, you submit your manuscript and it goes into a campaign if it's accepted by Kindle Scout, and then it's available for readers to check out the first usually 3 or 4 chapters and decide if they're interested enough in it to nominate it. And if they do, then, and if enough people do, then the Kindle Scout team takes that into consideration and decides whether or not they want to offer the writer a contract.
So it's like each nomination kind of votes you up the ladder. Is that right?
You know, I think a lot of people, it's a little bit misunderstood, because even though your books are getting nominated, that's not the sole criteria. The Kindle Press team is going to be looking at it and deciding if it's something that they feel like they can get behind as well. So they take that into consideration. I would guess that it would be one element. You know, there's also going to be how professionally it's been presented, and whether or not, I suspect it could cover things like whether or not you have a platform established, whether or not you present well in social media and those kinds of things, like any publisher or imprint.
Except they ask you to submit a already edited book along with a book cover.
Yeah, complete with a book cover. Yeah, they want the, well, and it kind of makes sense too, because they're going to be putting that material up in front of, you know, millions of readers. So it needs to be more professionally prepared at that point than perhaps if you would be just sending it to your editor and then sending it on to a publishing house.
So what was your reason for submitting the book, A Crying Shame, to Kindle Scout?
Well, it was, I think it was, it was October of 2014 that Amazon announced the program, and I was just nearing the finishing point on a manuscript I was working on that was going to be the first in a new series. And so it just seemed like if I was going to try it, I thought it would be better to try it with a new series rather than one that I had already been working on. So probably the main answer, though, for why I thought about Kindle Scout would have been the possibility of marketing, Amazon marketing, the Holy Grail.
Yeah, that's true, right?
Yeah.
They do know how to market.
They got that down, yeah.
So, how a little more on the process there. So when you can anybody just, if you have a book done, can anybody just do this, or is there any other criteria?
No, it needs to be novel length. I think they're looking for like 50,000 words. And other than that, you can submit it. Now, that just submitting it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be accepted into campaign. So they must have some kind of a preliminary look over it, and within a short period of time, they'll let you know if they're going to accept it for campaign. I think they ask for a 45-day exclusivity. They do. They ask for a 45-day exclusivity. 30 days of that is going to include the campaign itself. So they give a little bit like a 2-week leeway beginning and end as far as whether or not they're going to accept it and whether or not they're going to let, or when they let you know whether or not they're accepting it for campaign or for publishing.
So if it's for campaign, are you selling copies during that time as well?
No.
No.
What you're doing during campaign is the 30 days that your book is on the Kindle Scout website, and during that time you're hustling for nominations. You know, as a writer, I was using my mailing list, and I was getting working Facebook, and I was on a couple different threads on Kboards, just trying to get people out there to take a look at it and see if they would spare me a nomination. And that goes from 30 days. That's the public portion of it.
So it almost sounds like if you weren't an established author, this would be even a harder sell.
I'd say there's a pretty good mix of people who this is their first book, and those who may be a little bit more established. There's a pretty good mix. I think they've got like close to 120 authors or more that they've accepted. So not everybody has an established platform. I would guess it wouldn't hurt though. Like anything else, every little advantage you can give yourself, the better that you can present yourself, the better it will be.
Okay. X, why don't you go next? I don't want to can't hog all the questions.
Sure. I guess, did you have any support during those 30 days beyond, I guess, what, like you said, you had your requirements and what all you had to put forward into this, but beyond that, what support did you have in going through with this?
By support, do you mean from Kindle Scout or from other people?
Yeah, yeah, probably from other people. Yeah.
Okay.
I think both. Yeah.
Okay. Why not? Let's do both. Not from Kindle Scout. Kindle Scout, when you've submitted your manuscript and they've accepted it and it's in campaign, you're pretty much rowing your own boat right there.
Yeah, that's why I'd asked. Yeah, I kind of had that assumption too.
Yeah. Okay. And then as far as support outside, I mean, I've got writers groups that I'm close with, and a lot of writer friends, and I've got a self-published series, so I had a fan base as much as I had at the time. And then also I had, prior to deciding on whether or not I wanted to look into Kindle Scout, I contacted a couple of the people who had just won a contract with them, via Facebook, kind of stalked them a little bit, and asked them questions, and a couple of them were just really phenomenally generous with their time before and during. Fiona Quinn, just to name one person, was just incredibly generous with answering questions and so forth. The Kindle Scout authors are really a pretty good group. Really
well, that's
supportive.
Good. Yeah, and that's what I was hoping to hear. At least that when approaching this, at least you would have others that either have gone through it already or currently are going through it. So at least there's the ability to swap stories and experiences in that sense. Yeah,
and there's definitely that. Almost all of the people who have won the contract are very approachable, and there's also a couple. There's at least 2 threads that I know of on Kboards. So, and there's a pretty, oh gosh, the one thread is fairly long, and it's I think it's pretty much a support group for people who are going through the campaign process. I don't think that was in place when I was going through, but I could see where it would be a helpful place for somebody to go through and read through that thread and find out more about it too, that way. Or do what I did and just contact any of us. We're out there.
Now, do you guys know going in, like how many they're going to accept to go to press, or is it just,
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's just a book-by-book basis. They seem to, from what we can see, they seem to take on, I would say maybe 4 every 3 or 4 weeks. That just seems to be kind of an average. And I could be wrong about that. So, but I don't think they have a specific number.
So would you be there? So 3 or 4 a week, and you said there's 100 and some. So I mean, the percentage of people getting the actual deal are it's still fairly low. Is what I guess I was getting at.
I would say, yeah, it's not easy, and there's a lot of things that come into play. You know, what we do is we kind of keep an eye out for who's been accepted by Kindle Press, and we'll contact them and ask them if they want to be in a Facebook group that we have. So I'm just basing my numbers on that, on how many people have been coming into the Facebook group. It probably would be better if we want, you know, more accurate data to go to the Kindle Scout website. But you wouldn't know how many people have campaigned, though, so maybe that won't work either. So never mind, I rambled on that answer. It probably was not very helpful.
No, that's okay. Rambling is very, very acceptable here.
I feel at home.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Wade.
Yes, I was right. X, you're always on point, professional.
Yeah. No, I would say, if anything, I am the Rambler. The Rambler.
The Rambler. All right. So the next step. So the campaign 30 days, and then you have this other 15 days. So what happens at the end of the 30 days? And that's kind of maybe take us to that a little bit.
Well, within. I think the average, as far as like when people have been notified from Kindle Press as to whether or not their book has been accepted, runs about 48 to 72 hours, from pretty much from what we can tell. Some people get notified quicker. Others have gone even, 5 days or more, and that can be hugely stressful for them. So, and then at that point, then they just let you know, yes, we're accepting your book, or no, we're not. And you can make your decision as to whether or not, if they accept it, yay, you're in. And if they don't, then most people, I would imagine, would just continue on then and self-publish. No reason not to. You've already got a kind of a launch, pre-launch stuff going on then anyway. Take advantage of it. So it's kind of a win-win in that respect.
Oh, yeah.
Except that it's in public. Yeah.
Just a step back. What was the experience like for you? You said it was could be pretty stressful for those who are waiting up to 5 days, but the whole experience from when you first submitted all the way up to when you found out, what was going through your mind, and how were you doing it all?
How'd you do it?
I was actually pretty lucky. They contacted me within a day, so that went quick for me. And I actually found out about it because my uncle got the email before I got the notification. As somebody who nominated me, he got an email saying, "Oh, hey, one of your nominations was chosen, and you'll be getting this book eventually." So he called me up and he was like, "Yay!" And I was like, "What?" And then I found out. I'm like, "Oh, okay, great." Yeah. I was a little behind everybody else. I was getting congratulations on Facebook, and I was like, somebody has to tell me these things. So that is something I should mention, though.
Yeah.
Just real quick before I forget, because I tend to forget things real quick. As you're going through the campaign process, one of the things when you're trying to work and get people to nominate your book, one of the things that does make it easier is that the readers who nominate your book will be getting a free one. They get like a free, not an ARC because it comes out when the book is launched, so it's not ahead of time, but they do get a free ebook copy of the book. So, and Amazon sends that out to them automatically. So it's a little less stressful to be begging for nominations when you can say, hey, if you do this and if it gets accepted, then you're going to get a free book. So that can make it a little bit easier on some of those introverted type authors.
Good point.
Because that's the hard part. Yeah.
Introvert authors. Never heard of it.
No, I know. They're a rare beast like unicorns, but they're out there.
Mm-hmm. In a far-off basement. In a land of yore.
Yeah.
So now, when you got accepted, do they put their editors on it again, and how does that all process go? Is there and do you get offer for more than one book, or how does that kind of stuff kind of work?
Okay. You have, but when you get your notification from Kindle Press saying that they've congratulations, they've accepted your book, you've got 30 days from that point to upload your final, even though it's not the final, but the manuscript that you're going to hand to them, your baby. You got 30 days to upload it to their site, and then during that process, they're getting your tax information, your bank information, and things like that. Once they have it, then they assign an editor who goes through the editing process. Now, Kindle Scout doesn't really promote that aspect of it very much, so I think there's been a lot of confusion about that. People thinking that that the whatever editing that is going to be done at the at the front line before you even enter the campaign, which you should do that. But there is a definite editing process that Kindle Press undergoes as well. So, which is important. I mean, they're putting their name on it, so.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it just for the one book, and then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a one-time deal. It's at least there's some caveats to that. There's been a couple Kindle Scout winners who have gone and they've entered maybe the second in the series. They've entered that into another campaign. So there's a couple double winners. I think there's even one or two who have submitted it into a second campaign and it wasn't accepted. And then there's also another group who have kind of done a formal proposal, and they sent that to Kindle Press directly without going the campaign route. So there's some different things, different ways of approaching the Kindle Press team if you are thinking about doing a second book, but you're not obligated to. And that was one of the things that attracted me as well, because it wasn't a 3-book contract the way you might have to indenture yourself to if it was a more traditional type publisher. So I liked that little bit of freedom there.
Well, I think, yeah, in that sense, to those who, at least for a lot of the indie authors who tend to feel that they need that control all to themselves, and
you get used to it,
yeah, I think that would be at least a good testing ground to, like, do you have the patience to be able to hand off your work and trust that someone else has your best intentions with it?
It's very different, very, very different. And I've found that I like some aspects of each journey.
Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I'm kind of curious. What sort of things have you made this from the Kindle Press side?
I like, well, the marketing. That's probably one of the biggest benefits of entering the Scout program and getting accepted by Kindle Press is that you have the opportunity. They will submit your book to Amazon Marketing, and you can receive, different promotional opportunities. They vary pretty widely. Some are maybe, I wouldn't say less effective, but they're well, okay, let's go with less effective than some of the others. But either way, you're getting marketing for your book that, as a self-publisher, I have to pay for or sweat for, and you have just that kind of support from them. So not as much as probably all of us would like. I mean, I think we would all like to be their star child, but they have several different marketing plans, I guess if they use plans isn't really the right word, but options that they'll test different books with.
So what ones did they use for Scrying Shame? Are you able to share that?
Oh, sure. Let's see. Well, they've done a featured email, which is one of those email blasts that they'll send out saying, if you like this type of book, you might like this one. They do an announcement when your book goes live, so they'll send again, it's another email notification. They do seasonal multi-author promotions. So for instance, Scrying Shame was in a Halloween promotion because it's got some paranormal aspects, some psychic aspects to it. Of course, there's the Kindle Daily Deal. Whoo, I didn't have that. But that's the one but several people have, and so that was huge. They've done a month-long discount for a Scrying Shame, and then let's see, Kindle Most Wanted. That's a group on Facebook. Crime Fiction Newsletter. That's people signing up for a newsletter from Amazon if they're interested in crime fiction. And then the one the most recent one that they had, it's a new one. It's called a limited time offer, and they did put a Scrying Shame in that one. And basically, what that one is, it's they put for a limited time, just like it says, like a 6-hour to 12-hour period of time. They put your book on an ad on the wake screens of Kindle devices, and that was awesome. That was really wonderful.
Yeah, that is cool.
That was wonderful. Yeah, that was.
I wondered how all those get on my Kindle. I don't know. I always wonder how do they choose which books come up there. So
I don't know. That's part of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that would be awesome. That when that happened, I bet you kind of watched your dashboard for quite a while.
Well, you know what though, with Kindle Scout books, you don't have a dashboard the way that you would with KDP, so you can't see sales go up. So you can't obsess about it nearly as much as I would normally do. About all you can do is watch the ranks.
Oh, okay.
So and you can you have to try and guesstimate from there. You do get once a month you get a statement, basically a royalty statement. So once and you you can see what you're earning towards paying off your advance, and then it goes into what you're earning when you're earning. But that's set up through Author Central, so it's not a dashboard the way so that's another area of having less control than a self-published author might have. So.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the advance and what the royalty rate is? Could you share that with us?
Sure. The advance is $1,500, and you get that relatively quickly once you give them your tax information and so forth. So that was nice. And then the royalty. You asked for the royalty. The royalty is 50%. Yeah. So it's 20% more than it is if you are going through self-publishing and you've got the 70-30 split. So it's 50. Mm-hmm. And that that can be a big drawback for a lot of people. That and the fact that when you are going with a Kindle Press or any Amazon imprint, your book is going to be exclusive to Amazon. They're not going to put their books out on Barnes and Noble.
I think that that makes more sense to me than the royalty split.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then how long do they say how long the marketing campaign will be, or does that vary depending on book?
It varies. It varies book to book. I don't know how they figure that. So maybe I'm still sacrificing goats in the backyard, hoping to get a Kindle Daily Deal, but.
So they're still doing marketing now, and it's been out for how long?
It was published July 7th. So.
Last year.
Yeah.
So
2015. Yeah. So it's 9 months coming up. Yeah, and they are still. And in fact, the biggest promotion that they did was just in January. So.
Well, there you go. So I guess I mean that's a good sign.
I do too.
With your group that you've been talking with, has that been a pretty typical so far, or have you guys talked about that at all?
I think everybody talks about it, but there's so many of us, and it varies pretty widely as far as which people have gotten into different things. I was I don't know if I was one of the first in the limited time offer, but prior to that, I had gone a pretty long spell without having had a whole lot of marketing. So I think they just try and even things out as best they can. I don't know how they make that split, though, or make that decision. I'd love to know that.
Right.
That's one of those deep, dark Amazon secrets that we'll never know.
Yeah, all that stuff we always want to wish we could have some insight on. That's
right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
So
pretty good. They're pretty good at holding back on those crucial little things just the ones that we really need to know.
Right.
Yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't need them if we did know.
There you go. Exactly right.
Key masters and gatekeepers, I see.
So how did the initial launch go? How involved were you in that as well?
It was really different. You know, I'm used to self-publishing, and so I'm used to preparing for the launch in a fairly different way. I personally don't like to do a whole lot of pre-orders on Amazon because you don't get the boost in rank if it's spread out. So I usually just do a hard launch on the day of instead of doing any kind of pre-orders. But because of the way that it's Kindle Press uses a 2-week pre-order. As far as launching, it was. I mean, it wasn't any huge launch. I don't really focus a whole lot on launches as so much as I do more of the long-term type approach. So I don't worry about it as much since it's not going to be going out of stock in 3 months or something.
good point. Now, did you see a immediate impact on your other books?
Yeah, I saw immediate impact on my other books. Even when A Scrying Shame was in the campaign process. So for that 30 days when it was being nominated and people were checking it out, my other series had a significant upswing. So that was nice. And then I think, it also helped, my other series also helped A Scrying Shame because I can still, I had a mailing list going and Facebook groups and so forth with my self-pubbed series, and so I was able to announce to them, and that helped spread it out. But see, part of the problem with a launch is that you've already gone through your mailing lists and your Facebooks, and I boosted some Facebook posts, and so you've pretty much told everybody about it, and they're all if they voted for you, they're all getting a free book anyway. So that makes the launch itself go a little bit softer.
Mm. Did the freebies that went out to the people who nominated you, do you know if they counted towards your sales rank at all, or?
I don't know. Yeah, don't know.
That would be interesting to know too, right?
That would.
That could be a lot. Yeah.
Absolutely. If they did, they would have gone out, I think, in the pre-order time period, though. So I don't know. That's a good question.
So would you do this again now that you've kind of got a few months behind you and stuff? Would you submit another book and try this again?
I'm kind of looking at a couple different options, and I haven't fully decided. Originally, when I put A Scrying Shame in to Kindle Scout, I did not plan on entering any others. The original plan was to put the first book in and benefit from whatever marketing I might happen to get from Amazon, and then with the sequels, keep those as self-published because I would still have that slightly higher royalty, and I would also have control over price pulsing or discount promotions and so forth, which we don't have control over that with Kindle Press. So I thought that would help with a little bit as far as being able to manage that getting boosted every now and then. But I'm not completely sold on that anymore. I have seen a couple people putting their books back into Scout, either that or directly to Kindle Press, and I'm kind of thinking about both of those approaches as well. There's advantages and disadvantages to going either way with that. If I run another campaign The scary thing about that is, what if the second book isn't accepted? That would suck. Because the campaign's tough. I mean, the campaign is really, truly an exercise in humility when you're doing that. It's extremely nerve-wracking. But at the same time, it really, I told you, it gave me a pretty significant boost to my other books, and it would certainly do the same for A Scrying Shame as well. So there was some cross-pollination there that's kind of attractive. And then the other possibility would be submitting directly to Kindle Press and foregoing the nerve-wracking month-long trek through
Scout.
despair and hope. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
AKA despair and hope, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
The bottomless abyss.
In equal amounts, yeah. You just swing back and forth from those extremes.
Great. The 9
I've,
hells.
Yeah.
I read in one of those keyboard threads that you mentioned that some of the people who were submitting into this Kindle Scout but weren't getting accepted, they still found that the people who had nominated them were being informed of when they were self-publishing the book as well. So
yes.
it's another way of...
Amazon gives you, Kindle Press gives you that option, and you can write a nice little thank you note. And so you write two. You write one for if you were accepted, and you write at the beginning of the campaign before you enter it, and then you write another one for if it was rejected. And in that one, you can let people know where they can find you social media wise if they want to be made aware of when your book is published again. Okay. Or not published again, but published. So that's pretty nice, I thought.
Yeah, because you at least gains more on your list, and
yeah,
for sure.
Well, yeah, and maybe like if you were to be doing like another series starter rather than a sequel to A Scrying Shame, would you consider doing the first book in a new series in Kindle Press all over again, and trying that as a, like you said, a marketing,
like a catalyst? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh, that's a good question. I have not thought of that. My first reaction to that would be probably not, because one of the things that it makes it easier for me with my first series is having that control to price pulse and to discount promote, to try for BookBub or any of them, or Countdown, any of those kinds of things. So I don't know if I would do that with another series. If I do continue to submit to Kindle Press, it would probably be within the Blood Visions Paranormal Mystery series.
Cool.
Yeah.
In saying that, though, how do you get your book back or your rights reverted if it's been, accepted by Kindle Scout and published by Kindle Press?
Well, there's a bunch of legalese with that. Basically, they have 5 years, a renewable contract. The book has to earn a certain amount, and if it doesn't earn that, which you can pretty much guarantee it's going to if they're going to keep the rights. So, but at that point, if it hasn't, then you can request the rights back. And that would, when you enter Scout, one of the things you're giving up is ebooks we've talked about, but they're also audiobook and translation. So, and they have different time periods for all of those. I believe it's a year for the audio. Would it be a year? I think it's a year for the audio if your book hasn't been put into audio within that contract time. Then you can ask for the audio rights back. A couple people in the Facebook group have been talking about that. I haven't really paid attention to it though. So.
And the translation?
I'm not real clear on that one. I don't remember that one. I'd have to go dig through and drag out my contract. But one of the things you can do, or any writer can do, is on the Kindle Scout site, they have the full contract, and you can read through the whole thing. And I would strongly encourage anybody thinking of doing anything like this to make sure that they read through that contract themselves and understand what they're looking at before they go in.
Yeah, we'll provide that link on the page when it's up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't have it memorized, Donna? Sorry, I thought you were just going to read it verbatim.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question.
Oh,
So
well, sorry.
have they translated your books or indicated that they will be translating them or putting them in audio?
No, neither of those. They haven't, as far as I know, haven't spoken with anybody so far about doing that. And when people have asked, and we do ask because we have contact with some of the Amazon reps, when we do ask, they just say, yes, it's on the table, and they are looking into that. But they're still, this has really been, it's just like really a year-old program, so they're still working on things.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're looking into that, was all you had to say.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Jim's
Right.
on it.
Yeah. Well, but if they don't, then you can request for the rights back, and so that's
Yep.
at least it's not like with some other types of traditional type contracts where they don't have to do it if they don't want to. They just they'll just keep them forever and ever.
Yeah, that's true. In that sense, has it been kind of a learning experience? In like I had mentioned before, in being that this could be like a tester to whether or not you would go traditional if the offer came around the table. Has this been a good, like at least barely a toe in the water in comparison to what the full blown Big Five traditional guys would probably throw at you, but it probably is close.
There's some pretty significant differences between the Amazon imprint contracts and some of the traditional stuff. I don't think I would go traditional at this point with the way that they have their contracts currently set up across, across the field. I would certainly consider another Amazon imprint like Thomas and Mercer or 47 North. Well, I don't write in sci-fi, but that kind of an imprint. The mystery thriller imprint is Thomas and Mercer, and I would just love to be published by them. That'd be awesome.
Hint, hint, Amazon.
Yeah, right?
Listen up,
they're
Amazon.
watching me.
She used the word love.
Yes, I did. In a fully committed sense.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's at least that you were able to get that out of the experience alone. That if you were to continue on with Amazon, that doesn't sound like a bad thing, even though you don't
Right.
have as many of those rights, like you had said, and you don't have as much control over things. You don't feel like you're at that point where like that was a bad experience, and I wouldn't deal with people again.
No, not at all.
Sorry.
I was just going to say it's been a good experience.
You mentioned you guys some contact with reps. How much access do they give you, and are they there to answer questions? Are they pretty customer service wise?
Yeah. They're very friendly. We're free to email if we have questions. I would imagine if you start emailing daily, you might find some issues, obstacles in your way with getting through. But if you have a legitimate question, I typically hear back from them within 24 hours, business days, 1 or 2 business days. So
that's good.
they're quick.
Yeah, that's more than you can expect from some of your friends sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or fellow podcasters. Were you trying to hint at something?
No.
Big.
No. Yeah, I was talking about my friends.
So Donna, well, you've already mentioned that you don't really have access to the book itself, like it's not on your dashboard or anything like that.
Right.
So what happens if you find any typos or errors in the book? How is that then dealt with?
Good question, because my book actually did go out with typos. I fully admit it, and I take full responsibility at that time. In fact, I ended up putting errors in during the editing process and missed it when it went through. So what happened was when during the first period of time when some of those like some of my friends who had nominated it, were getting it. They started, calling me up or emailing me saying, you know what? There's this repeated sentence here, and there's. I'm like, oh. Yes, okay. So I ended up getting a hold of the Kindle Press rep, and basically at that point, it's a little bit more difficult. One of the things that's nice when you're self-published is you can, if you know how to operate certain things in the technical aspect there, you can go into your own file, make the change, pop it back up. You're talking hours, and you've solved your problem. Because Amazon Press is a business/bureaucracy type situation, there's going to be more of a process with that, and that I would consider that to be a minor kind of drawback. I submitted a request. I let them know what the problems were that I had found, and if they determine that it's a significant enough change, they'll go back in and make the changes, and they did. So all's better now.
Good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So I should update the version of the book I have on my Kindle then?
Yes, you can do that. Yep. Yeah.
Or just live with the typos. Just overlook them. It's like.
They glare at me though.
Yeah.
They do. They call to me from the book. It's horrible.
Well, I suppose, given that you're kind of like assigned an editor in this kind of process, you almost would have that almost feeling of reassurance that this guy knows what he's doing. I don't have to really look for everything. Yeah, I'll just give it a light glazing through.
I think I was so excited. I think it had more to do with I was so excited at that time, and there were some things going on with a personal life that I think I was a little bit too distracted in that area and a little bit too excited to be just going through this process. And I missed it, and it was definitely me.
Combination distracted and excited.
Yeah, it's a lethal combination in publishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or maybe in anything else. I don't know.
Would you consider this deal a career turner or career point that make full-time author type of thing?
No, I'm not there yet. No, I think before I can get to for me, I don't think there's going to be like one of those magic turning points. I think it's going to be the long slog, put the work in, get enough out there, keep at it long enough. I see it happening that way for me if I ever do become a full-time author, and I hope I do. I'm definitely working towards that. But and I get, every book you put out there, you get a little bit closer. But as far as like a massive lightning strike turning point, it wasn't for me. There are at least 2 of the Kindle Press authors, minimum of 2, that I can think of that it was more similar to that kind of a turning point. And then there are others who are still kind of treading water and trying to get their momentum. It's like any other group of people, you're going to have some that are going to kind of move like a bell curve. You're going to have some on the extremes, and you're going to have that big mass in the middle where most of us live.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Have you thought about, with what marketing Kindle Press has done for you now, have you thought about changing any of your marketing strategies, plans for your own self-published stuff?
No, not necessarily, because the marketing that Amazon has access to, I would never have access to that as a self-pubbed author anyway. So it's almost like you're working on 2 different tracks. Probably the closest thing I can do is just try and keep my series connected in the minds of my readers as much as possible. So like I'll do giveaways for my Letty Whitaker series, and then I'll do others for A Scrying Shame, and I just try and keep that reader base kind of cross-pollinated with the 2 of them. But as far as have I learned anything from Amazon about marketing, I would love to say yes, but they don't tell us anything, so I don't know their secrets, unfortunately, not yet. I'll try, but
other than to potentially rely on them to do it.
Yeah. As much, yeah.
Sounds like a good business model. Damn it, Amazon.
There is that. But, you know, at the same time, you know, when you're talking about depending on an entity for something, I mean, that's nice in one sense that you can, you know, relax and let it go, but it's also a little frustrating in another sense because then that's also a loss of control. So the things that I might do for my Letty Whitaker series, I'm not really able to do for Scrying Shame. So, you know, I can't apply to for a BookBub for a Scrying Shame unless it's right now they've got it priced at $2.99, and they have had it discounted to $1.99, but that's not that 50% that BookBub needs in order to accept a book. So I guess if Amazon were ever to drop it down to some like 99 cents for a period of time, I could probably do it then. But now, the flip side of that is that Amazon has run at least one BookBub ad that I know of for another author. So even they use BookBub occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you never know. So I can see where that would maybe be a little frustrating because you're always just kind of like, well, I wake up this morning and look, oh my gosh, you know, or what, or maybe nothing's happened for, like you said, for months, and then all of a sudden you had a couple of really good promotions. So
yeah,
that could be hard.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't get a whole lot of lead time in knowing when marketing is going to be running a promotion. There are some people who get like notice of a promotion just like a day or two ahead, so you can't always, you know, kind of pile on with that the way that you might if you have a little bit more notice. Other times we get plenty of notice. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Xavier.
No, I was just gonna say, do you find that having that lack of control sometimes can be more infuriating? And do you ever feel that maybe that at a certain point that having that series with the first book being in Scout, whereas the rest of them aren't, that you've kind of put yourself into a bit of a corner with that in a sense?
Potentially you could. Yeah, potentially that could happen, and so you have to go into it knowing that, you know, you're handing that over. I personally haven't had that yet. I think one of the things that helped me be okay about the whole thing was that limited time offer promo that ran just in January. But there kind of is the fear of, you know, especially as there's more Kindle Scout winners every week, there's more and more. You know, how are they going to spread the love, you know? And are they going to forget about, really, now? My kitty.
That's a great reason to stop the conversation.
I know, I'm sorry.
We love cats on the show.
All right, so I have no clue what I was saying. Oh, okay. So that was actually one of the worries that you would have, is as more and more authors come in. I mean, it's great as far as camaraderie, but you know, there is still that sense of, as my book gets older, will it, you know, get less and less attention, which is part of the reason why I would consider possibly doing the sequels. As long as I have my one egg in that basket, I might, you know, consider adding some of the others too.
Yeah, like you had mentioned, you know, like who's their star child of the week kind of a thing earlier on. Yeah, I think that the more that are going to be added into the pool, potentially it will get to that point where, yeah, individual spotlight is going to become very competitive, even within that.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I mean, with Amazon, and this is the same for if you're self-publishing or if you're with an imprint with them. If your book is doing well, you get, like with the algorithms, you're going to get picked up more and more. So the better, once you get that momentum going, you have to keep pushing it. It's not like they're playing favorites. It's if your book is performing at a pace that tells them the readers are interested in it, they're going to keep pushing it. So it's just kind of a natural selection kind of thing in a weird way, I guess.
Yeah, it seems like agency relying on algorithms rather than the reverse.
Yep.
Right. And you got to figure Kindle Press is actively seeking out authors all the time as well. I mean,
Yeah.
so I mean, not just the Kindle Scout. There's lots of competition and.
Well, now there's a difference between Kindle Press and the other imprints. Kindle Press is solely, at this point, with Kindle Scout. So when I'm saying Kindle Press, it's actually the name of their imprint that works with Kindle Scout. And then there's Thomas and Mercer and 47 North and whatever the romance one is.
Montlake.
So yeah, it's a specific Montlake. Thank you. It's a specific entity, imprint.
Oh, I learned that some new. I thought it was just, but I thought it was also its own separate thing. So okay.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could see once they've gone through Kindle Scout, been in Kindle Press, and then maybe if they've made them enough sales and money, then the author might end up going to Montlake or to Thomas and Mercer or something like that. It's almost like getting your foot in the door, I sense, like an entry-level position, in a workplace.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, in a way.
Oh, you're a temp.
More like minor league, and then you try and hoping up to get into the big leagues.
I started off in the mail room, but by the age of 80, I was running the place.
There you go.
By the place, I mean just this washroom. I'm the attendant.
Erica, did you want to do Kate's question?
Yeah, and Kate's question from the audience also made me think of another question. So this is in two parts. So you've mentioned, Donna, your newsletter a few times. So did you actively build that list, or did you just let it grow organically?
I work with both approaches. I've got links in the front and back matter of my Letty Whitaker series, and so organically I've grown it to a certain proportion with that. And then recently I have a separate list that I'm working on with Facebook ads, and working with the giveaways. I put giveaways and the Facebook ads pretty much funnel into this other separate list. I consider the organic list to be the golden child. But the other one's nice too, and and we get responses, and you just got to keep growing it.
Okay, so that then leads on to the Scrying Shame book, which is the one that Kindle Press has. Did you have any say on what your back matter was, or if you could include your mailing list information in there?
I did add my mailing list. I figured they wouldn't mind that. It's not sending them to a website that's selling other books. So, and I also included a link to my Amazon author page, because that way, since I don't have access to back matter where I can go in and continually refresh it every time I put a new book out, you go back and you freshen up with the links to the new books and so forth, or the first chapter of the next one and that kind of thing. I knew I wasn't going to have that kind of access, and so I thought, well, I'll just put in my author page, because that's perennially refreshed.
Yeah.
So.
Good idea. Really good idea.
Yeah, and then you don't have to change it every 4 or 5 months. Yeah.
Plus, it tells Amazon, "Hey, I'm with you guys. I made a profile."
Wink, wink. Yes, absolutely. We talked about that committed relationship already. I am theirs.
Right. And you probably had your affiliate links on your website too. So if they did go check out your website, they knew that you were serious.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. No. And at this point, my other series was also in Select. So I think when I was in, I did have the first book perma-free, so that one was wide. But I have since then taken it off perma-free and set it at 99 cents. So they're all in Select at the moment.
Do you have any plans to go wide with them? Because I noticed you've got the paperbacks available on Barnes & Noble, but where else?
They were wide for a while. It's hard to find that balance between short term, I need to make money because I have bills, and long term, I'd like to have them be wide. Unfortunately, the other vendors aren't offering as an attractive enough return of income on taking them out of Select at this time. So, until some of them can, start kicking their game up a little bit more, then I'm going to continue to just reevaluate that every 90-day cycle. But I do reevaluate that. I'm not, just completely closed off to the idea of going wide. I philosophically think it would be better to be wide, but at the same time, I'm not going to cut my nose off to spite my face. I need to be making money when I can.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend you cut your nose off. I don't think that'll do anyone
That's
good.
not a good. I don't think so either. You're right. I'll put that on my don't do list.
Yeah, please do. Same thing as looking gift horses in the mouth.
That's the other thing.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would you gift a horse to anyone anyway?
Yeah, that's a shady. Well, that's a shady move.
Yeah. Well,
It costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty standard operating procedure in Canada, but other places.
Yeah. Seriously, Jerry, you owe me like $5,000. It's okay. I got you this horse. Not the same thing, Jerry.
So how long before Scrimea River is ready for you to do whatever you end up planning to do with it?
Oh, wow. I'm always a lot more ambitious in setting my deadlines than in keeping them. So I'm hoping by summer at some point. I'm hoping for early summer. I'm probably going to be looking at late fall if my track record goes as usual. So, but I really would like to get that out there sooner rather than later, because I do think that would be something that's going to help scrying shame as well. Whether or not it's with Kindle Press or not, either way, a series is definitely more attractive, especially in the mystery thriller genre. The readers just gravitate, and a lot of times the word is that they don't even really get invested in a series unless you have 4 or 5 out. So.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you give you a chance until you get? Yeah.
If they like it, they don't want to wait. It's instant gratification nowadays, right?
That's true. That's the world we live in.
It is. Yep.
Well, yeah, and I guess it's the same thing as people with epic fantasy, how they will want at least, 90 to 120K for that first book, and every subsequent book is going to be even longer.
Mm-hmm. They want to know what they're getting for their investment.
Yeah, and I think as far as nowadays, with a lot of shows being either made into television series or made into movie series, having that back catalog of 7-something books actually is very appealing to readers, especially if
Mm-hmm.
they only read stuff that's based on TV shows.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Yeah.
Based on.
Well, in their world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Totally.
Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour already. Believe it or not, that went by really, really fast.
Oh, it sure did. It did.
And so, thank you. I mean, there's really interesting stuff. And
I hope so.
Yes, no, it really was, and things that I didn't even think about. So that's really interesting. I really kind of want to see what the long tail is on this. So it started in 2014-ish, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first couple are getting to a couple years. I really want to see how the marketing efforts, if they really take a nosedive and all that stuff. So.
Well, one of the things you could do is you could go on Kindle Scout website, and if you go, they have a list of different categories you can choose, and one of those you can choose is published by Kindle Press. If you click on that, and you can go all the way back to the first group. I think it was the first group of 5. They were accepted in November of 2014.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
First
and then,
5.
yeah.
Any more questions from anybody? I want to make sure I didn't start winding down before I didn't even ask.
I think you can wind away, Wade.
Okay, I can wind away. Well, thank you. Well, I will remind everybody that is listening on iTunes or watching us live, please take a moment to leave us a review. We really appreciate those. Also, check out selfpublishingroundtable.com for all your latest news and information, blog posts, things like that. We got lots of good stuff going on there. At least I think we do. I even got a post up.
And Zoe York will be joining us on the Roundtable Roundup, which we're recording at 5 p.m. Eastern on Sunday.
5 Eastern on Sunday.
And it looks like it'll be Nook heavy in terms of news.
Yeah, that was a big announcement dropped. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, Donna.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, maybe we'll have you back on again sometime. We could talk
That'd be
about
awesome.
your, we didn't even get into the history of your writing journey and all that stuff, too. So.
We did not even talk craft.
Yes. Right.
I'd love to come. Let me know. Be
All
great.
right,
Thanks.
Great. Of course, any of our live viewers, too, if you'd like to join in a little after party, we'll put in a link. But so before I say goodnight, I think there's a guy going to Mexico pretty soon, and I got to make sure that he at least gets a chance to say goodbye once in a while. So, Xavier, you got anything to say?
Yeah, I won't be here for the next 2 shows. So, Wade, take care of the show. Erica, you be good. And as far as you internets, adios.